animal health check today. I'm Keira and this is a rabbit Merlin.
And I'm Amy. I'm doing a health check today on Jelly Bean, one of our resident dogs here. So usually we normally carry out health checks on much larger animals like our cows, our horses and our sheep. But because we want you guys to get involved, we are showing you how to carry out 2 health checks on basic domestic pets that you guys will most commonly have at home. So I'm going to start off with Jelly Bean. So the first part we check on a dog is the eyes. So we want to make sure they're nice, bright, shiny, there's no cloudiness or any scratches or any swelling on there. Obviously Jelly Bean is a slightly older dog, so she might start to lose her sight as dogs get older, so they have something called cataracts. So that's just like a white cloudy film that goes over her eyes. She doesn't have any at the moment, so she's looking very good and healthy.
I'm going to look at Merlin's eyes. Merlin, as you can see, has very bright red eyes. These are very nice. You want them always to be clean and clear. You don't want any crust around the eyes, and you don't want that film, as Amy said, that is inside the eyes that causes them to lose their sight. Merlin's quite a young rabbit, so he's got lovely healthy eyes.
Next we check the ears. So with a dog's ears you want to make sure again there's no hair loss, there's no cuts, there's no scrapes or any chunks missing out of them. You also want to make sure there's no weird smells or any random gunky stuff coming out of the dog's ears, because that might be the sign of an ear infection. So the best way you do that is you give your dog's ear a smell. Obviously I'm not going to do that on Jelly because she'll probably get a bit freaked out. But yeah, the best way I always find to do it is to get your nose right in there and have a good old smell.
So a lot like a dog, although the rabbits sometimes have longer ears, this one does not. You want to get your nose right in there, be careful of the face obviously. Again, you don't want to smell anything because it could be a sign of ear mites or abundance of wax, which can cause a rabbit to go deaf. So you really want to keep an eye on that. You also want to make sure that round the edges of the ears are not crusted over and they're not being bit if you have a pair of rabbits. And you also want to make sure the ears are moving around, and that makes sure that that rabbit is listening.
Right, then next step on Jelly will be her nose. So with a dog's nose you always want to make sure they have a nice wet damp nose. It means they're perfectly hydrated, they're not too hot. And also, again, are there any cuts around the skin? Is there anything that doesn't look right? Are there any lumps or bumps around it? And while you're here, you can also check around her mouth, her teeth and her whiskers. So we just peel up their lips like that. So you can check their teeth, see if there's any like tartar build-up, basically like how we go to the dentist to check our teeth. That way you can also see if there's any chips or breaks in them as well.
So rabbits' noses should always be twitching. They don't need to be wet like a dog's nose. They need to be quite dry. You also want to check for any sort of horrible greeny stuff coming out of the nose. And then you also want to check the feet for that as well, because they wipe their face like that. While you're here, you can also check that the whiskers are all there. You can also then check the teeth, which is you would pick up your rabbit and you would slightly lift up the mouth. And then while you're also there, you can check slightly under the chin, as they have a scent gland under there which can produce a waxy substance. You can also check that fur's not matted if your rabbit drinks out of a bowl, and if it is, just cut it away or gently brush it out.
Right. Then we move on to paws. So Jelly, now paw please. So when we're checking the dog's paw, we're checking their nails, the pads and everything around the dog's foot. So especially during the summer months, the grass seeds might be quite high and quite vigorous, so it's very important when you take your dog for a long walk and you get back, you always check in between their pads for grass seeds, because that can make them really, really sore and really, really painful. Also checking their nails, make sure they're not overgrown, make sure they're a nice good length, none are broken or curled over, because you then might need to clip your dog's nails. Okay.
So with a rabbit, you also want to check the bottom. You can see they have little hairy pads at the bottom of their feet. You want to check for the overgrown nails, if they're curling into the pad or if they're just slightly long. Also you want to check the back feet as well, because sometimes if your rabbit is on a hard ground, they can get sores, which is very, very harsh for their little feeties.
Oh.
So we just want to make sure they're lovely. You want to also check that the rabbit's using them to clean their face.
Then we move on to the dog's coat. So obviously different breeds of dog have different coat lengths. So Jelly is a short-haired dog, so you just peel her fur back just to make sure you get right down to the skin, make sure that again there's no hair loss, there's no itchy patches in particular. Also it gives you a good chance to see if there's any, again, cuts or scrapes. So say if she's been running through bushes and there's nothing obvious on her. If you thoroughly health check her coat, you might be able to see if she's caught herself or if she's feeling a bit tender, but mainly it's to check for like fleas, ticks, anything like that.
So on a rabbit, you'd do the same. It's kind of like giving your rabbit a little bit of love and a little bit of comfort. So as you stroke down, up and down the body, you can also look through the fur, make sure there is no parasites, which is like a flea. You also want to check for lumps, bumps or cuts, because sometimes if you have a pair of rabbit, they can sometimes get in a little scuffle. So you just want to check, but it also helps you build a nice little bond with your rabbit or with your dog. And as you can see, Merlin's quite enjoying a bit of attention.
And then the final piece on a dog would be their tail and their bottom. So again, same sort of principle as the coat. Yes, I know you're a good girl. You just check for any hair loss patches, are there any cuts, scrapes? So sometimes when dogs get into scuffles or fights with each other, they do sometimes try and bite each other's tails, so there might be, again, like a few nasty scabs or icky bits on there. And Jelly, can you stand? Jelly, stand up. So when you check a dog's bottom, again, you're just checking for everything's happy, it's normal, there's no redness there, there's no swelling there. Even if she's been to the toilet, is anything still remaining there? Because if there is, then she might have something wrong with her digestion. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
With a rabbit, you also want to check their they have a little tuft of a tail, but you also more want to concentrate on their bottom and their genital areas, because unlike a dog, on either side of their genitals they have a scent gland. So you want to make sure there's no smell coming out of that, and you don't need to clean that. If there is any sort of crust there, a nice wet, warm cotton bud or pad, just wipe it away. You also want to check that there's no feces around the bottom, because that can attract flies, and then you get issues because they've got quite lovely fur, so you don't want anything really stuck to that or anything to attract it. So if you keep it clean, then you'll have no issues. So these health checks, they're all the key points on all of your domestic animals, so you are able to pretty much perform the same sort of health check on a guinea pig, on a cat.
We hope you've enjoyed our video, guys, and we hope it's been a bit helpful. We'll hopefully be back up and running, and we should see you all soon.